hi there from Germany, my home country. And I have to say that despite of the typical grey sky weather, it is not the worst place on earth to live. But I need to take a break, I tell you. And not only a break from Germany, also from Hungary, another European country where I spent a lot of time. Also from Europe as a whole, and actually I need to take a break from the whole West. So if you want a break from the West, where should you go? Well, you should go to the East. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna spend 4 weeks in Southeast Asia. By the way, actually, I hate these terms, East and West, when they are being used for regions, because, you know, the Earth is a globe, and depending on where you are, the East can become the West, and of course the other way around. So it must have been some very stupid person who came up with this terminology. Somebody who thinks he's always at the center of the world and never moves. Anyway, so this video is about my personal motivation for doing this trip. There's a lot of street noise, unfortunately, but anyway, nice place. So my personal motivation, and I think it's quite likely that you are not so interested in that. So if you aren't, just skip this video and come back in about a week and watch my travel vlog from Southeast Asia. I'm planning to do about an upload every 2 days or so, but let's see. Okay, so why Asia? So I've always been interested in Asian culture. Learned a little bit of Japanese in my early 20s. Got fascinated by Japanese aesthetics and art. So the minimalism, the avoidance of symmetry, the wabi-sabi. I always started to get interested in Taoism and yoga, try to understand Buddhism, especially Zen, and so on. So Asia always was interesting for me. By the way, I also like Asian food very much. But there's another thing. As I said before, I always thought that Germany and Europe is one of the best places on earth to live and also to travel. So there are so many interesting things you can see, such a variety of cultures and landscapes. But unfortunately, during the past years, I have to say that it has become harder and harder for me to really identify with mainstream German society. Not so much the actual people I interact with, but the institutions, like, of course, the government, the political parties, and I say every single political party, even those that call themselves an alternative. The German industry. German industry is an important thing for me, because I don't directly work in industry, but I work in a software development company whose customers are from industry mainly. So, and of course, it's a little bit a problem if you no longer identify with your customers that much. So the industry, what else? Yeah, unfortunately also the schools and universities. So I'm no longer that convinced that they are good at teaching the right things. And I don't know, during the past years there has been an increasing atmosphere, mindset of pessimism, and at the same time some lack of courage and creativity, and that's not a good combination at all. Maybe this all started, or maybe the point when I really recognized that this has started was when Angela Merkel said we have to tighten our belts. Interesting, isn't it? So she didn't say, yeah, let's go, let's move on, let's go make a better future and so on. No, instead she said, let's tighten our belts. So do you think anything like that has ever worked out in history? I can't imagine. So I don't think that anybody, or at least any majority of people, will ever say, okay, fine, let's go, let's tighten our belts, that's fine, great idea. Okay, so that was, I think, about 15 years ago, Angela Merkel. Since then the government has changed, but actually things didn't get better. Actually, I think around the year 2000 things even started to escalate. So it's still the same atmosphere, the same mindset of pessimism, not really trying seriously to do something, to find some improvements for the future, but just, yeah, it's got all things are gonna get worse. So instead of doing something to solve all the issues, what do people do? So I'm talking about politicians mainly. Well, they blame the whole misery on others, on other countries, depending whether they're left or right. They blame it on the European Union, on Putin, on whatever. So nobody really seems to seriously look for a solution. I think I've said it before. And what's the worst thing about all this is that it kind of affected my own life. So it has negative impact on my personal life, on my engagement for personal things. It does have a negative impact on my motivation for doing my job. I hope my boss doesn't watch this video. And it even affected my YouTube channel, because many things I wanted to do, to film, to upload, I just didn't, because I thought, oh, maybe it's better not to do this for whatever reason. So this is exactly this mindset of, how should I put it? I wouldn't say fear, being too cautious, whatever. So, and when these things start affecting yourself in a negative way, I think it's time to do something about it. And so I decided to go somewhere, go to a place where at least I think or hope there is still a different mindset. Let's talk about the country which is going to be my main destination. It's a country that went through a lot of really bad times, and I say really bad. So it has been occupied and harassed by the Chinese for 1,000 years. But it got worse. After that, it became a French colony for 150 years. Colony, of course, means it has been exploited by the French. After that came World War II. At the end of World War II, they declared independence, but unfortunately that didn't lead to freedom and independence. Instead, it resulted in a really chaotic times with different kinds of wars where the Japanese were involved, the French, the British. So it's a time that is really too difficult to understand for me. Okay, let's go down to this peninsula here. So it was not really an improvement at that time, and yeah, after that it got even much worse. The country got involved into one of the, or not one of the, but the most brutal proxy war of the 20th century. A war where all kinds of war crimes have been committed, where all kinds of ostracized weapons have been used, not only landmines but also things like napalm, Agent Orange. So I think by now you should know which country I'm talking about. And yeah, even nowadays there are regions where you shouldn't go because of landmines. Even nowadays malformed children are born because of the chemical warfare of Agent Orange. But finally, after 10 years of war, the war has ended, which didn't really make things much better. So what followed was a time where the Communist Party, which at that time, after the war, ruled the whole country, they became kind of mad, trying to re-educate, quote unquote, the people. And during that time, many people flew the country. I think more than 1 million. They went to places like, of course, the United States. Many went to France, but also a lot of people went to Germany. So there was a lot of poverty at that time, and of course it's clear that people left the country. So all of this changed in the late 80s, when the Socialist or Communist Party tried to open the country in a similar way to Russia and China, but I have the impression that they did it in a better way. So there has been an incredible economic growth. People got wealthier, incredibly dynamic development of everything. And as far as I know, it's still ongoing. I even noticed that some people who flew from the country in the 70s, 80s are now coming back, or at least contemplating to come back. I actually know one such person. And that's absolutely interesting for me, because it seems like they don't complain so much about their past, don't try to blame it on all the parties who started or who involved them into these wars. Instead, they seem to think about the future. They think pragmatically, trying to improve things, and not or less ideologically. And that's something which I find really fascinating, and something from which maybe we can learn here in Europe. So don't get me wrong. So I don't really believe in unlimited economic growth, but I do believe in unlimited improvement, in unlimited change. And I also don't think that everything is great in this country. I think they have a lot of issues. For example, yeah, first of all, it's not a democracy. I mean, officially I think it is, but they have only one party which you can vote, so I wouldn't really, to be honest, call this a democracy. But then, in Germany, we have, I think, 100 parties, something like that, don't even know. Of these, maybe 8 to 10 have a chance to get more than 1%, but I don't think that any of these parties somehow even minimally represents my interests. So yeah, but still it's a democracy, and it is, I think it is still better in Germany and even in Hungary, where there is a similar situation, than there. Okay, so that's one thing. Not a democracy, so the system of justice is a little bit, yeah, not what I prefer, but it looks like it works. Another issue is, I think they have a huge waste problem, and especially that is plastic waste, which is going into the ocean. They have a coastline of, I don't know, 3,000 kilometers or something, and I think that's a huge problem. But let's see how it really is. What else? Yeah, partly things just don't work in this country. For example, I think public transportation is, yeah, really suboptimal. They also, and that reminds me a little bit of Germany, they've been starting to build an underground line, or multiple underground lines in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, about 10 years ago, and it's still not finished. So public transportation, of course, seems to be a mess. Okay. What else did I want to say? Yeah, of course, one important reason to take this trip is, of course, to learn something. To learn something, and you have to understand that this is not an escape. So I'm not saying I don't like many things in Europe, so I escape, go somewhere else, and hope that it's better there. This is not meant as an escape, because of course it wouldn't even work, because I have to come back 4 weeks later. But yeah, I want to learn something that makes me handle the situation here in a better way, something like that. But of course I also want to enjoy the trip. I'm looking forward to having to enjoy the warm weather, the great food of this country, the beaches, nature, maybe meet some interesting people. So I'm definitely also going to, or hoping to, enjoy this trip. So I think that's it for today. Hope to see you in my vlog, which is going to start in about a week. Bye bye for today.